Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
Yeah, we're back.
Indeed. Not much happened that I want to talk about recently. Inside jokes. So we'll go right into Player Nay, and we're going to start off with one that I've actually been kind of looking forward to for a while. Mario and Luigi Paper Jam for the Nintendo 3DS, releasing on January 22nd. I believe it's still developed by Intelligent Systems, but off the top of my head, I'll fix it in the show notes if it's not. Published, of course, by Nintendo. And this is just the latest in like the Mario RPG series on the handhelds, which has been Mario and Luigi. But this time, they decided to combine the two universes a little bit. They're also bringing Paper Mario into the mix. And, I am all over that because I love both series. Although Paper Mario has been kind of falling on hard times ever since Thousand Year Door. Because then they had Super Paper Mario, which was good but not great, and then Sticker Star, which was absolutely god-awful. I would also note that this game has been out in both Japan and, I believe, Europe for a while. And we're actually the last region to get it here in the States. Like I said, one of my favorite series. I'm going to go play.
Are the things that you not want to talk about is Seattle lost?
Yeah.
Is that what you're upset about?
Yes.
Because the Seahawks lost?
Yes.
Is that what we're not going to talk about? Is how the Seahawks lost
I hate
on
you
Sunday? Is that what we're not talking about?
I hate you so much. But okay,
are we not talking about how they went down 31-0 and then Carolina just kind of hung out in the locker room in the second half?
Yeah.
Is that what we're not?
Yeah. Let's just turn this into football to football for a second, or football to the max. But in all honesty, we're gonna put Player Day on pause for a second here. I just want to say my piece on this real quick. You and a couple of my coworkers kind of, came up to me as this was happening and after the game went final and kind of started to try to stir the pot a little bit. And here's the thing: I've been a Seattle sports fan for all my life.
Sure, you are a bandwagoner.
I remember the Sonics getting to the NBA Finals and then going down into the deepest depths of Clay Bennett wants to move this team to Oklahoma City. Fuck you. I saw the Mariners have that 95 season suck for a little bit and then resurge in 2001 with, I think it was the winningest season in MLB history, or was close?
It was close.
But, 116 wins, and then, slide down into the abyss of sucking. I will admit that I only started paying attention to the Seahawks Super Bowl 40, but ever since then I've been following them every year. And if you had told me after Super Bowl 40 that going into Super Bowl 50, the Seahawks would have won Super Bowl 48, come one play away from winning back-to-back in 49, and then somehow got to the playoffs this year, because let's be honest here, Seattle shouldn't have even made the playoffs this year.
Not according to the other Seahawks fans that I talked to. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's why I totally get why a lot of people hate the Seahawks bandwagoners, because the Seahawks bandwagoners can get fucking insufferable.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so we made the playoffs, okay, cool. And then we have the divisional game against Minnesota, where, but for the grace of God, laces out Dan, however the hell you want to put it, Seattle squeaks out a win after that. And then, the first half of this game, they, left their everything on the plane. Go down 31-0 on the road against what is probably the top team in the league right now in Carolina. And a top MVP candidate in Cam Newton. And somehow, during the second half, managed to turn it around and almost come back.
Don't get me started there. Listen, if you want to hear my take on the second half of that game, and there will be a rant, go back and listen to my podcast, the Football to Football podcast, which is also on the W2M network, where you can now listen to this podcast. There will be a rant. And don't tell me Seattle made all these amazing things to change it around. It was Carolina doing the thing that I hate the most when you're in the lead. Anyways, yeah. I just wanted to tease you a little bit because I knew that's what you were talking about. Because I knew it wasn't about how my 7-year-old son kicked our ass in Super Smash Brothers. That's recorded and will be out on YouTube eventually. I knew it wasn't that, so I had to push a button here or there. Mario and Luigi's Paper Jam. Listen, I'm interested in it. I'm like you, where I want to this series has just kind of been on the back burner for me for a long time, and I need to go back and play the original ones and the Paper Marios and the Mario and Luigi's ones on the 3DS before I get the Paper Jam.
And the Game Boy Advance, because there were Superstar Saga was the first one. But...
So, I mean, there's a lot of them I'm behind on. They look interesting. I've played bits and pieces of the Paper Mario series here and there. I want to get into it. I just haven't. So this will be a long distance play for me. You will not see me playing it in 2016.
Oh yeah.
But I'm interested in it. So
yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I might be. Probably won't be playing it on the project in 2016. I may play it here and there. Off project. But yeah. So yeah, that's a play for both of us. And here's one that's actually probably going to be a little bit interesting to hear the opinion on too. It's Final Fantasy Explorers, coming out for the Nintendo 3DS on January 26th. Developed and published, of course, by Square Enix, because Final Fantasy. Yeah, this is basically Final Fantasy does Monster Hunter, which is a thing I didn't know I wanted until I saw the trailer. This is speaking as somebody who didn't, I've never played Monster Hunter either.
I haven't either, but I'll just say this. Final Fantasy better go off and do Monster Hunter, because Final Fantasy forgot how to do Final Fantasy.
True.
I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy 13.
Oh boy. So, yeah. That's basically all I've seen on it. It looks like Final Fantasy formula applied to Monster Hunter, and that ticks a few checkboxes on my list. So I'm going to go ahead and say play on this one.
Yeah, it has me interested as well. I mean, it's perfect for the handheld the way it looks like, just like with Monster Hunter, where it looked like it would be a game I'd get into. I just haven't. But yeah, it's also a play for me because listen, we're both Final Fantasy fanboys, and this kind of has that nostalgic feel plus a different vibe to it because, like you said, it focuses more the way the Monster Hunter games play, and I like it has the co-op idea to it as well. And yeah, I'm all in for that one.
And I just realized something. We had actually played a game that was kind of cribbed a little bit from the Monster Hunter style of gameplay, Peace Walker. And both of us really freaking enjoyed that game. Gameplay-wise, I thought.
I'm confused. Again, I don't know a lot about Monster Hunter. How does that work?
It's basically a co-op game where you take down giant bosses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can equip stuff, equip different things. But, sound familiar? Fixing your loadout to go take on a cocoon or a...
I just didn't know if Monster Hunter you can zoom in on people's characters and all of a sudden articles of clothing disappear. I didn't know if that's what happened on Monster Hunter or not.
Good. Nice. Well done. I was more talking gameplay wise, but make me look like an idiot. No.
I do it very easily.
Yes. And I usually help you by setting it up really easily. Anyway, moving right along. Lego Marvel's Avengers coming out for fucking everything. PS4, PS3, Vita, 360, Xbox One, 3DS, Wii U, and PC on January 26th. Is this Traveler's Tales again? Or whoever usually does the Lego games?
I don't know. I'll look it up while you talk about it.
It's a Lego game with Marvel's Avengers. It's Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. Okay. And Traveler's Tales and Marvel. Okay, sure. I mean, what can you say about the Lego games at this point? It's basically Lego plus, franchise plus same basic gameplay for the most part equals game, And I guess it just becomes a question of, do you like that gameplay and do you like the Avengers? And the thing about that for me is I've never played a Lego game, and I've actually never seen any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I've always meant to go do it. I've been saying I wanted to go do it ever since, I think Iron Man 2? Or the original Avengers movie, one of the two. Anyway, but, so I have really no baseline experience to go off of on this. I've heard they're decent games, but I don't know. I'm going to go a very weak nay on this simply because sight unseen for me. It just kind of feels like, hey, are you interested in either of these things? Well, then go do it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm interested enough to invest in $60 for a Lego game. You know?
Well, first off, go ahead and turn in your nerd card if you haven't seen any of the Marvel Universe movies. What the hell, Wes?
I'm not much of a movie guy.
No, I'm not either, but I have seen a lot of the Marvel Universe movies because I have a 7-year-old son, and he is hooked on those things. My 7-year-old son is also hooked on the Lego games. So even if I didn't want to play this game, it's a yes for me, because that's what he plays. He is beaten the first 2 Lego Batman games. He has been playing the third one. He has played a ton of, I think Lego, what is that one? Marvel Superheroes or something.
Something like that, yeah.
It has the same characters as it looks like it has in Avengers, so.
Yeah.
But, yes, he's playing a lot of that one on the PS4 when he gets time to play games, so. Yeah, I mean, even if I didn't like them, and they're fun, I like the Lego games. They're pretty simple, and there's a lot to them. They're a lot more in-depth than you really would think.
Yeah.
But they're pretty fun, so. Yeah, it's a play for me.
Well, you know, to go back a little bit to the movie theater thing, just because, you know, I like embarrassing myself. I saw Inside Out in theaters when it came out earlier this year. Or earlier last year now, because it is 2016 now. But I saw Inside Out in theaters. The last movie I saw in theaters before that was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Which was like 2010.
That's a Harry Potter movie. I mean,
I don't go to the movie theater that often, and then by the time it comes out on DVD or Netflix, which neither of those I really pay attention to, I'm just like, okay, I have games to play, screw it. You know? Especially nowadays. You know? So, you know, it's a hole in my media consumption that I probably need to fix. But, moving on, last game on the list.
We need to, make a new podcast, the Backlog Busting Project Movie Edition.
Which would just turn into me doing CinemaSins jokes. More so than I already do. So the last game on the Player Nay segment today is AIPD, Artificial Intelligence Police Department, releasing for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on January 29th. This is basically a twin-stick shooter.
Hold on, it's developed by Blazing Badger. Don't forget that part.
Yeah. I love how I'm the one who usually does that, pushes for that sort of thing, and I tried to push right through it on this. My bad. Anyway, so, this game is, like I said, basically a twin-stick shooter in, like, the vein of Geometry Wars, where apparently you're, taking on artificial intelligences that are just rough geometric shapes on the, visualized, and well, you basically said it when you showed me the trailer. It's Geometry Wars.
Yeah.
And if you like those kind of games, cool. If you don't, okay. I played Geometry Wars on the 360. Didn't really see the appeal. Again, well, it's because I'm not much of a Twitch reflex kind of guy, so.
I know. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But, anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna go nay on this. Not my type of game.
Clean sweep for me. I'm making this a play as well. I like Geometry Wars. I never did play the second one yet. But listen, I think I've said several times in the podcast, I'm a sucker for these time waster kind of games, like Pegels and all of that. So this it just adds right to it. Resogun is another one that fits the bill. And now here's another one I could have on the PS4 or the Xbox One, and just one of those games is like, I have 20 minutes to waste. I'm not going to have enough time to really delve into a game, so let me get through a level of AIPD. I could see myself definitely doing that, so definitely a play for me.
Alrighty then. So, that's the Player Nay for this episode, and yeah, that about sums it up. So let's go right on to our co-op game for this episode. Which is Bobble.
Yay, Bobble.
Yep, Babble. Published and developed by Taito, who also made Space Invaders, Double Dragon, Little Samoan, or Little Samson.
Little Samoan?
and bust a move. I'm just going to try and regain my composure after that one. I can read English. Oh, Jesus. Released August 1986 in the arcades and November 1988 on the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is the version we both played.
And then I'm sure it got ported to everything else in the world on all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, but those. And
I think Taito now is owned by Square, is what I read. Like, yeah, so
probably, yeah,
all sorts of goofy shit with that too.
Yep. Which Bobble confirmed for Final Fantasy Explorers. Wait, what? So we both played the Nintendo version of this, and we played it together, and we sat there and did it in technically 2 sittings, as you'll find out. We'll be posting highlights of our run to YouTube starting very soon.
Well, we will be showing highlights of our second run on YouTube. Because, you see, we did a first run, and we beat the game. And I went to go stop the recording, and instead I started it, because I accidentally forgot to hit record on the video recording device first. So there went 3 hours. So we sucked it up, and we recorded our run on Super Bubble Bobble, which is the second run through, and got through that one, and then tried the final boss again, because we still didn't get the happy end, and we still couldn't, because Wes sucks at the final boss.
Yep. Well, I suck at the game in general. Let's not sugarcoat it here.
But
since I'm in a real talk mood.
So let's go ahead and talk about this game. Basically, this is 100 levels of platformy bubble puzzle. Fun at times, sometimes frustration. Where you are either Bub or Bob. You can play 1 or 2 players, and your whole goal is to put all of the enemies on the screen into a bubble, and then jump on them to make them pop. And then once all the enemies are off the screen, you can advance.
Oh, by the way, once you pop the enemies, they turn into fruit.
Yes.
Or some other form of food.
Because
they turn. Yes. But, and then you go around the screen collecting the food for points, and it becomes kind of a score attack sort of thing. And especially when you're playing 2-player, it also becomes kind of almost a little bit of a competition. Even though you're working together, it becomes kind of a competition to go, haha, I have more points than you, or haha, I got to that peach before you did, you know? It's weird, because I've actually found myself kind of going, I'd be up for trying that again.
Yeah.
Which I figured, it's an older Nintendo game, it's going to be very simple gameplay, etc., etc. I'm probably going to be sick of this thing after we sit there in one sitting and beat it, And not only was I not sick of it after the first attempt, I was not sick of it after the second attempt either. But I will say, though, again, if you're bad at, Twitch gaming like I am, or, like, timing like I am, it can, or pattern recognition like I sometimes am.
Yeah, you definitely have to learn patterns, especially when you get to the final boss. The final boss is very much one giant pattern, and it does become difficult when you are 2 players, because your whole goal, we'll get to the final boss. I won't get there yet, but basically, I kind of agree with you where I thought, I don't see us getting through all 100 levels, forgetting that they do have the continue system, which saved our lives. I was like, so that helped. But just our attention span, I didn't see us being able to work together for 100 levels without going, okay, this is dumb. We're not getting anything accomplished. Can I really do 30 more levels of this? But it really was. I mean, they do a good job of, like, the first few levels, like most games, are pretty simple, let you get used to the concept, introduce an enemy here and there in simple areas where you can understand what they're going to do, and then slowly crank up the challenge, and then every so often give you that one extra bump of challenge that kicks your butt for a while, and
Fuck you, level 57.
Well, level 57's on a whole nother thing. But where you get stuck on there for a little bit, and then you finally are able to accomplish that level, and then the next few are easy, and you feel like, alright, we're back on the roll, we're getting going. And like Wes said, level 57 gave us definitely the most problem, and when we looked it up, it seems like the Bubble Bobble community has deemed it the evil level.
Yeah, well, I remember because it actually didn't give us too much trouble the second time around because we knew it was coming. But the first time around, we probably sat there for a good, 30 minutes on that level?
Yeah, well, I mean, once you understand what you're supposed to do, and it basically you have enemies at the very top of the screen, and then you have to find your way up there. But the bubbles aren't really reacting the way they normally do. Usually you shoot one and it'll start crawling up the wall and you can bubble jump it, which I can't do. I can't bubble jump in this game to save my life. But it wasn't doing that. It would just stick in the bottom left corner or bottom right corner, wherever. And then once we looked it up, it was like, okay, what are we doing wrong? We learned that in the middle, they will stay static right there. So then you have to build a bubble staircase to get bubbles there. Then you jump on those. But it's a pain in the ass and it's complicated. But it's fair. And that's what I like about this game. All of the challenge in this game is 100% fair. There's never once where you go, oh, the game just screwed me. I mean, I should have been able to do that. It's like every single time you die, you go, well, I risked it and I messed up. Yeah. Or that was really dumb of me. I don't remember very many times where we went, no way. Yeah. No, I should not have died there. Yeah. The game messed up. I mean, that's what's great about these old school games. It's like, yes, the challenge is there. Yes, many of them are very difficult, but they're simple. And it's all about you figuring out patterns, you figuring out the enemy layout, the level design, and very simple but gratifying gameplay, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that about sums it up. So, let's talk a little bit about that final boss battle. And then we'll move along here, I think. The final boss battle, I forget what his official name is, but it's basically a giant version of an enemy you've seen in a few of the rounds, not levels, but which you've seen in regular gameplay, and he's abducted basically your girlfriends and put them into like crystals or bubbles of their own. And
Grumble Grommet.
Grumble Grommet. Okay, Grumple Grommet. Okay, sure, why not? So basically, you get through all the 99 prior rounds, and you come to the last one. And Grumble Grommet's just kind of sitting there, static. And your objective is you jump up to the top of the screen, get a potion, which makes all of your bubbles now the thunder power-up you've probably seen during the game, which is you break it open and a thunderbolt flies across the screen, and anything that comes into contact it gets stunned or takes damage. And the objective then becomes Grumble Grommet bounces across around the screen, and the objective becomes you have to shoot out thunder bubbles, pop them, and hit him with the resulting thunder. And you have to do that lightning. Sorry, and you have to do that. I believe it was 60 times first go around, and then 80 the second.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But anyway, so you do that 60 or 80 times, and you've beaten the boss. Here's the thing. The lightning power-up stuns anything it hits, including your co-op partner.
Yeah, so basically, if you and your co-op partner are not on the same page, you basically start screwing each other over, and it makes life difficult.
Yeah.
Both of the all 3 times that we beat this final boss, it was basically kill off Wes, and then hope I go on a good run. Because Wes just could not figure out the pattern, and then anytime he started to, him and I were not on the same page, and we just screwed each other over, so it made life difficult. Definitely makes you more impressed of like the speedrunners of this game that can do it 2-player with no problem. But
that basically. One other thing I do want to talk about real quick is, like most games of the era, this game had a bit of a gameplay extender, I guess I'm going to say, in that you beat the game the first time on regular Bubble Bobble, and it goes, this is not the true end, do it with a friend and do it again, basically. So it gives you the password to start in Super Bubble Bobble, right? And you go all the way through Super Bubble Bobble, and in the penultimate round, the round before the boss, there is a crystal that you can grab. So you have to grab that crystal and then bring it to the final boss room, and then beat the final boss. And you have to do it with both players alive. So we got to Super Bubble Bobble. Randy beat the final boss, and then we found out, well, we need the crystal, I believe it was.
Well, the first time we did it, we got the crystal and we beat him, and then it said you have to have both of them alive, so then we learned the trick to bring you back to life, and we did it again, but it said we didn't have the crystal, and what I'm pretty sure we have to do, Wes, and we may try this later, is we have to do level 99 and then 100 consecutively.
Without
we can't
continuing.
continue.
Yeah.
Restart level 100, we'd have to go back to 99 each time.
Yeah.
We may try that, but...
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the one thing I will say, yes, it wants you to play the game twice, but the second game, they do switch the enemies around a little bit, making some levels more difficult. Some of them made it a lot more easy, so at least there's slight differences. But really, I mean, what do you expect? It is an NES game. Who cares, really? There is no story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure there's a story in the instruction book that they kind of paste on it.
Yeah.
But really, it's just there for the puzzles and there for the gameplay, and you definitely have it here. So I was very happy with it, especially for our first co-play, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, actually, now that I think about it, that's kind of weird. You'd figure in one of the 25 episodes before this.
Well, you just don't want to play games with me, Wes.
Well, technically we did, I think we both sat down and beat Peace Walker together. Like, we didn't play the entire game all the way through together, but, you know, we did the last couple of missions of Peace Walker together.
Not in the same game.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah,
we couldn't get it to work.
I sat on my Vita while you sat in my game room on the TV and played it on the PS3.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
Hanging out and playing video games but on two different systems does not count as playing video games together.
I forgot we hadn't quite gotten that working yet.
No, we messed around with some levels after the podcast. I remember that.
Yeah. That's gonna about do it for Bubble Bobble. So let's go ahead and move along to Randy's game, which I'll let him introduce.
Yeah, so my game was a lot like Bubble Bobble, where there's not much story in the game, but if you look it up, they pretend there is. My game was Thomas Was Alone. It was originally created or published and developed by one Mike Bithell. I hope I said your name right, man. Basically, he created this game during a 24-hour game jam in 2010.
Yeah.
And then just kind of slowly upgraded it to a full working title. When it was first originally released on June 30th, in 2012 on whatever this Desura is.
Yeah, it's basically the indie version of Steam.
That makes sense. And then later released a few months later in November on Steam. And then it found its way to PS3s and iPhones and everything else. Give credit to Curve Studios for all the console releases and Bosa Studios for all the phone releases. So basically this thing's out on everything. And the reason is it's a very simple but interesting puzzle game where you control a bunch of different shapes, basically, and try to work your way through these puzzles. Each shape has a different characteristic, and you have to work with them together. He does a wonderful job of each level feels different because you have a different combination of shapes, basically. And that's the whole game, is just you're working through all of these different situations. You get introduced with a new problem, you gotta solve it. And then you get introduced with a new shape that has a new ability, and you have to figure out how all of that stuff works. I will say he does a decent job of trying to make it into a story with characters. And when I do have to say, when I played through the game, I had no idea what the actual story was, but I loved the characters. And all the characters are described basically by a narrator, and I didn't write out that guy's name, and I should have, because he was really funny. He reminded me a lot of the Stanley Parable narrator, where just he's having a good time and basically describing what these characters are doing and how they're feeling and stuff. Each shape has a different personality, and it really kind of works with what they're doing. So basically just kind of go through the original 7 characters that you have in this game. Your main guy, obviously, is Thomas. He's your run-of-the-mill Square basically has no special abilities, and all the other characters kind of call him simple and naive and not.
Well, hey, sometimes it's hip to be a square.
You
Yes!
wouldn't know. And then you meet Chris, who's a very small square, doesn't have much jumping ability, but obviously can fit in smaller spaces. And he is known as being very grumpy until he meets a later character and falls in love, and the grumpiness goes away, and it's whatever. Then you have John, who is a tall rectangle, and he's yellow, and he can jump higher, and he can jump farther. And I liked it because, like, his character is basically described as he's the jock at high school, where he just wants to show off, and he's like, he makes a jump, and he's like, oh yeah, it makes him feel better because, you know, all these two other squares were there watching him, and then later on you do a level where he's basically by himself, and he's like, it just doesn't feel the same to make, the jumps don't feel the same when nobody's watching.
Well, I just saw can jump higher and farther, and you described him as tall, like, kind of tall and lanky, and I'm like sitting there like, Luigi!
Basically, but Luigi doesn't have the confidence that...
Yeah, I was about to say.
That John does. Then you meet Claire, who's a big square, can't jump worth anything, but she learns that she can float in water, and that character is actually kind of interesting because they do that really well, where she's like, oh, woe is me, you know, I have no abilities, and then she slips and falls in the acid, which kills you with all the other ones, and all of a sudden she floats. And then she decides she's Super Claire, and it's her job to make sure all the other shapes make it safely and all this stuff. And then you meet Laura, who is like John, but flat. Same shape, but...
Yeah, rotate 90 degrees clockwise.
And her abilities, the other characters can jump on her like a trampoline, which, thank God, they're shapes and not people. That would be really weird. But her personality trait is she feels that everyone she meets leaves her because that's kind of how things work. In this game.
I got it. I get the joke.
And then the last two, you have James, who the gravity's reversed. Everything works. He's like Thomas. But obviously he's on the ceiling the whole time, which makes him insecure because he's completely different. And then you meet Sarah near the end. She has a double jump. I forget what the fuck Sarah was because you meet her right near the end.
Yeah.
So the thing here is, from what I've read since, these are all computer programs that are trying to get out of the computer somehow, and they eventually do, and it's supposed to be, like, at the beginning of each chapter you get a quote from a real person, but none of this is ever explained, and it goes by so fast, half the time I couldn't read it before it was gone, but about how all of this stuff happened, how they're trying to get out of the system, and like that stuff I didn't even care about. Like reading it after, like it's one of those things where you just didn't understand because, like, I've been playing a lot of Destiny, and most of Destiny's storyline you can read online. But I just play it because you can get with friends and shoot people.
Yeah,
Thomas was alone. They put some quirky personalities to shapes, but it's the puzzle mechanic I like. So the whole story mechanic, if you're interested into it, you can look it all up online. You're not going to get it in the game. But so you go through that, and then all of a sudden they all kind of disappear one by one by one. And then you get these new characters that they're all gray. And what I loved about this is they take everything you've learned in this first 2/3 of the game, but now instead of each character having their own abilities, each character could go through a patch that was on the wall, and and whatever color that was represented the color of the shape that you were in the original 7, and it gave you that ability. So everyone could have the ability to float on water or double jump, but that last part of the game was way more complex because you needed just one of them to have the water ability to get on to a person that could double jump. So you had to make sure that the double jump person then did not fall into a patch where he would lose that ability and become buoyant on water. So it just added complexity to what it was doing. And that's what I absolutely loved. It was the puzzles leveled just seamlessly, where it was very simple platforming to, okay, now I have 5 objects that all do different things, and okay, how am I going to make them all work together to accomplish this? Then it's like, okay, now I have everything, and it's an added pressure. I will say those characters, they had characteristics to it. One of them was trying to take over something, but by that point I wasn't interested. But I loved Team Jump, because it was basically 5 little blocks that just were super excited, and you had to control each one of them separately, but they always acted personality-wise like they were always doing it at the same time. So
yeah. So, yeah, the one thing I do want to go back to a little bit is you kind of gave me a little bit of a look when I burst out laughing earlier talking about Laura when you mentioned it's good they're not people. And I'm going to curse you till my dying day for showing me that Too Many Cooks video, because all I could think of is the segment in that where, you know, it's suddenly the text is the people, and the people show up as the title text.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And, like, one of them is just screaming their head off. And I'm just, for some reason, I just pictured that with, like, lady getting jumped on and bouncing off like a trampoline, and I just lost it.
No, I got you. But yeah.
You know, I will say, I have access to this game too, and I may have to go take a look at it now too, because I'm sitting there and I'm trying to reconcile its basic geometric shapes, like given basically personalities.
Yes.
Huh.
And here's the thing, and again, it is all voiced by one guy. It's just the narrator, but it's basically him saying how they feel.
Okay.
It's like him speaking for Thomas, and then him speaking for Chris.
Okay.
And actually, he brings in, I mean, you could tell it's the same narrator, but that narrator is trying to put a different voice to the person. I will say the narrator is awesome in this, and the characteristics that they put are great. It's just the story I don't care for.
Yeah. Because
they didn't want to bore you with, you know, cutscenes and stuff, which I absolutely love. Thank you very much for not doing that. So, you know, they made it a whole online story, and I just didn't care for it. I will say I played it on the Vita, and I think that's the perfect place for it, because it is a pick up and go and do a few levels kind of thing. But, I mean, if you have it on the PS3 or the PS4, or I'm sure it's on the Xbox, it's totally fine on a big screen as well. It's just, it really works as a handheld.
Okay. So, I really don't have any other questions for you. So I guess we'll just move on to my game, which was Final Fantasy X2, and I played the HD remaster. Of course, this game was developed by Square Enix. It was actually the first game that really came out under the Square Enix banner, the first major release, and we'll get why I think that's important here in a few minutes. But first, the housekeeping stuff. Originally released for the PlayStation 2 on March 13th, 2003, the HD remaster released on the PlayStation 3, which is what I played it on December 26, 2013. And basically, this game takes place 2 years after the original Final Fantasy X, and it's Kimahri finds this spear that has a video of a guy that looks like the main character from Final Fantasy X, which I pronounce Titus, but apparently is actually wrong, according to Kingdom Hearts. But anyway, moving on past that, but it's a spear that looks vaguely like him. Kimahri gives this spear to Riku, and Riku goes and finds Yuna and shows her the spear, and that convinces Yuna to join Riku in a group called the Gullwings that go across Spira and go hunting for spears. And the game kind of goes from there. You play as Yuna, Riku, and third member of the Gullwings is Pain, who kind of reminds me of a female version of Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, to be honest with you, at first. Because she doesn't really say much, and when she does, it's usually very, like, deadpan and sarcastic.
It's been a long time since I played Final Fantasy VIII, and a little bit longer since I've played Final Fantasy X2. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
but, so, right away, this game does a lot to set its tone at happy and staying that way, because when I first started playing this game, I Facebook messaged you and basically said, I forgot just how goddamn J-pop this game is. And I'm pretty sure that was a direct quote. Because this game starts basically in medias res. It's Riku and Pain are infiltrating the Blitzball Stadium at Lucca, where Yuna is apparently doing a pop concert. And it quickly turns out it's not actually Yuna. It's LeBlanc stole Yuna's garment grid, which is the main gameplay system of the game, which I liked that they actually, the garment grid is actually a physical invention in the game that is actually part of the storyline instead of just an abstract concept. I actually kind of liked that.
Yeah.
Because the garment grid and dress spears, are actual physical things. And the mechanics behind them actually influence some of the storyline, which I found kind of cool.
Instead of, hey, we have 3 female characters, let's play dress up.
Yeah. Which that's basically the main way the mechanics in this game are stated, because it is, you choose a garment grid, you place your dress spears on that grid, and then in battle, you can at any time switch any of the 3 characters to any of the spears on their garment grid. And there are approximately 15 different jobs. There was at least one added for the HD remaster that I found. That it's called Festival List, and it was actually from what little I tried of it was pretty fun. But but I just stuck to like the vanilla dress spears. I will say that once you have a winning combination, the game's difficulty is basically done. And for me, that was 2 Dark Knights and an Alchemist. Because the Dark Knight is one of the more powerful physical attackers, and then the Alchemist can just sit there and toss out free mega potions every turn and keep your party pretty much topped up. And it was just like, well, So, honestly, the battle system in this game, while I was still kind of, experimenting, figuring out, which jobs are best, and kind of figuring out the spear change system, because garment grids can also, while you're moving jobs, if you do it in like specific patterns, you can unlock different stat boosts and abilities. Like one garment grid, if you go through this gate, you may get a bonus to your magic stat, so that helps you, cast stronger magic. Or another one, if you equip it, you absorb fire or absorb elements, sort of thing. So, doing all that is fun. Where the problem comes in, though, and this is getting back to my statement about Square Enix earlier, is I feel like they threw everything at the wall for this game. Because, number one, it was the first game, released after the Square Enix merger, which a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Square and Enix are merging. What's going to happen here?" And then it was also the first direct sequel in Final Fantasy history, which a lot of people were like, okay, you went 10 games without a direct sequel. Why start now?"
Now that's all I can do.
Yeah, and then when the first initial kind of stuff started coming out and people started realizing, oh my God, this is going to be Charlie's Angels the RPG, set in a fantasy world, people were like, what? So this game had a lot to live up to, and I feel like it was just that team went, okay, we've got a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Like, there's the job system, which people like from 5, there's fan service fucking everywhere in this game, which is another thing I'll get to in a minute. There's side quest upon side quest of different types of mechanics. There's Blitzball is back, and then there's Spear Break. Spear Break, which is basically is like all sorts of math going on in that game. We won't even touch the deep madness that is Spear Break. I do want to touch on Blitzball. They basically turned it into a management simulator. You no longer play the game. And I'm not sure how to feel about that. Because, yes, Blitzball in Final Fantasy X was a little bit annoying until you figured out eject shot to get a few goals, and then get the ball and go behind your own goalkeeper and freak the AI out, and you win. You just have to run out the clock, go make a sandwich. But in X2, it's more, okay, get your team together, and then a bunch of dice rolls happen, and you maybe win. But yeah, gameplay-wise, like, when I was doing battles and whatnot and progressing through the story, I liked it. But as soon as it felt like this game knew exactly when to, like, bring me back down to earth in a moment of, yeah, that definitely happened. Like, fan service, basically. Like, the massage mini game when you're, when you sneak into LeBlanc's hideout, early-ish in the game, you don the enemy's uniform and, do the standard infiltration bit. And then there's a massage mini game out of nowhere, with a whole bunch of innuendo. And then later on, there's random hot spring scene because fuck it. Bikinis, yay!
Is this also the first Final Fantasy where it wasn't even hinted like open world, where like you could just fly around all over the place? Or did that started with 10?
No, 10 was pretty much a straight line. What you're trying to say is, I guess, let's back up. Try that statement again.
Where you could just fly around to all these different places, couldn't you? You have access to basically everything.
Yeah, in X2 you start with your own airship, the Celsius.
Yeah.
And, you can, which, by the way, I love that that's one of the more subtle kind of callbacks, because the original the airship in 10 was the Fahrenheit. So in 10.2, of course, you have the Celsius. But, yeah, in 10.2, you can basically choose to go wherever you want to from the tutorial mission. And, yeah. Like, Chapter 1, for example, the two places you need to go to advance the story are, Besaid and Xanarkand. But you can choose, if you like, to visit every place on the pilgrimage. And, that leads into one of the more, divisive, we'll say, things about Final Fantasy X, X2. And that's, the completion percentage, thing. This game is impossible to 100% unless you are a savant or you shelled out for the Brady Game Strategy Guide. And it is very much intentional on Square's part that they did this, because there was an era there from, I'm going to say, probably about Final Fantasy IX to right after X2, or right after this game, actually, where Square intentionally made mechanics as vague as possible to try and force people to go buy the strategy guide. Where this went wrong is...
What they have? PlayOnline.com?
Play Online, yeah. Or you could do, because even by Final Fantasy IX's time, there was this little site called GameFAQs, where people, did all that work for free. Instead of having to go pay, $25 for the strategy guide. But nowhere is it more ridiculous than it is in X2. Because, I did not beat this game, I'll go ahead and say that straight out. While I was looking to see how much longer I had left in the game, I decided to go back and see, okay, what did I miss in earlier parts of the game? And I counted at least 5 different occasions where Square hid, 0.2% completion percentage behind something that is an absolute, how in the world were you supposed to guess that was a thing? The most blatant one I can think of is, in Chapter 1, if you decide to, go revisit the pilgrimage areas and not, just do Besaid and then Xanarkand, you're actually exploring the world instead of just doing the story beats. You go to Mushroom Rock Road and you get stalked by somebody and he goes, "Oh, hey, do you remember me?" And it's literally a generic NPC model. And you get a dialogue choice of, "Sorry, I don't remember you," or, "Hey, you're Yibel of the Youth League." And that is his name and, affiliation, right? here's the problem. If you're being honest, you're going to miss 0.2%, because unless you are playing on the remaster and have watched the little interstitial cutscene, The Eternal Calm, which didn't even come out in the United States until the remaster, you have no idea who the fuck that guy is. And yet, if you answer the question honestly, well, there's 0.2% completion percentage gone. Hope you didn't want 100% of the game this run through.
Well, I mean, to me, I'm okay with that because I'm not trying to 100% it the first run through. So I'm okay with little things like that, whether you have to look it up on a strategy guide or mess around or whatever. I mean, yeah, some of those things are very vague, and I remember when I did try to do a 100% thing, I missed something like ridiculous. Like I was following it through a guide and missed like a campaign thing I forgot to do or something. But I'll ask you this, I guess, because it's something I thought about while you were talking about my time when I played it back in the day, is do you just think that they started adding all this stuff in, again, because of fan service, and you get the special ending, basically, if you get the 100% or whatever? Do you think they just threw all this stuff together, all those mini games you're talking about, where there were just so much, because they realized that the story from point A to point B just wasn't as much as they were hoping? So they figured if they didn't just pack this in with a bunch of extra stuff, that the game was going to be 10 hours, which is ridiculously short for a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. I can maybe make a little bit of that argument, yes.
I only asked that because I think it's been so long since I played this game. I think it's chapter 4. It's like the second to last chapter where if you're trying to 100% this game, chapter 4 takes forever because you're basically in the airship and you go around and talk with
the conspirators.
Everybody.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, the conspirators.
You go around and talk with everybody.
Oh, God.
But if you're not trying to 100% it, you just go up to the front and say, let's go. And that chapter's over.
Yeah.
Chapter 4 is basically, I think, one fight.
Yeah.
And you're already moving on to the next thing. Or it could be 6-7 hours of just talking and talking and talking. But, so I just think it was a lot of padding. Because, I mean, listen, I'm with you. I liked the battle system. I was actually surprised I liked the battle system. And I liked how the game was going, but they just couldn't stretch that story that far, I don't think.
Yeah. God, there was something else I wanted to... Oh, you brought up the storyline and how... I want to say it's almost inconsequential, the storyline of this game, until the main antagonist finally gets introduced. Because basically this game is... it's 2 years after Yuna defeated Sin, and in a move that I actually kind of appreciate, it didn't immediately fuck everything up even worse that we killed Sin. Because in a lot of our direct RPG sequels that I can remember, like from between like Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, as badly as Chrono Cross handles being a sequel to Chrono Trigger, the one main plot line of Cross is basically by killing Lavos and Chrono Trigger, you completely fuck things up. Sort of thing. You get what I'm trying to say now, right? Where the common thing I see in direct RPG sequels is, yeah, sure, you killed the thing in game 1, but that just means this thing in game 2 is happening now, and haha, fuck you. X2 basically goes, no, you did a good thing when you beat Sin, and now there's kind of a little bit of a different thing where we're trying to, figure out what happened and kind of start moving on. Because a lot of the main conflict of the game is, okay, what now?
It's been so long. Wasn't there like a whole politics deal here? There was like different leaders trying to take over?
Yes, there are 3 main factions in the game. It's the Youth League led by Maven Nuge, which, God, I love fantasy names sometimes. But anyway, and they basically are of the opinion that, wow, Yevon really fucked this world up with all that bullshit about Sin. Let's just completely forget about that and move on. Find spears, find ruins, and start investigating the history that Yevon repressed. And then there's a second faction called New Yevon, led by a man named Baralai, who basically goes, Yevon messed up, but it was structure, and we need that right now, We're not saying we need to, keep everything the way it was, but we need some of that structure. And then there's a third faction, which is the Machine faction, led by a guy named Gipal, who basically goes, fuck it, let's do what we want, and we'll just supply both of the other factions with whatever they need, as long as you're paying us. And that also ties into one of the overarching things of the game is the three leaders of the factions knew each other, and they were actually connected with Pain and what was called the Crimson Squad. And you find this out through various spirits you find in the game. And they found a weapon under Bobble called the Vegna gun, which is immensely powerful. And that is, that plus, anyway, yeah. The Vegna gun is basically the main threat of the game. My problem is the game basically goes, okay, here's how Spirit has changed in the last 2 years. Oh, by the way, here's Vegna gun now. And it just feels kind of abrupt. You know what I mean? If it were built up a bit more, I don't know, organically,
Paced better?
Yeah,
maybe?
Yeah. Because it basically goes from, okay, here's how Spirit's changed in the last couple of years, to, oh, hey, there's this weapon under Bobble and we need to go stop it now. Okay. Sure. We'll go do that.
So what would you have done different?
I probably would have made it a bit more linear, actually. I think a lot of this game is hurt.
By the openness?
By the openness, yeah. But if they had maybe sat down a bit more on the story and tried to hash it out a bit more, I think we would have had, they would have had, an all-around winner on their hands. By all means, Final Fantasy X-2 is not a bad game. I don't like some of the pacing decisions. I don't like some of the fanservice moments. Like, basically anytime the character Brother opens his mouth, I cringed. Because Brother's character is pretty much, I think he's Yuna's like either half-brother or cousin, and 90% of his dialogue is hitting on Yuna. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, seriously, no.
Would you have liked it if they more focused on the three factions and maybe the hint of war and...
Yeah, yeah. Maybe built it up, because it's basically, you can choose either side and you kind of get a little bit of they're getting ready to go to war vibe out of it. But then, nothing ever comes of it because, oh, hey, Vegna gun, we need to go stop it.
I think Yuna sings at some point.
Yeah, she does.
Everyone comes back together. If you've got to that part, you're really close, I think, to finishing this game.
Yeah, and the reason why Yuna sings is, I guess we'll open that can of worms I didn't want to, but remember earlier I said the garment grid and dress spears kind of play a role in it? It's because those things are made out of fireflies, which are, the souls of the departed, basically. Well, the songstress dress spear is the soul of a summoner from Xanarkand 1,000 years ago, named Lyn.
Oh God, yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
okay.
And the main antagonist of the game is Shuyin, who is the guy from the spear Yuna saw, and is basically is assumed to be the template on which the faith based Titus, which is why they look similar. And Shuyin actually, apparently, I got spoiled on the final boss fight. Apparently, Shuyin uses Titus's overdrives from Final Fantasy X, except with different names. So they're basically driving the point home of, hey, Lyn and Shuyin are basically Titus and Yuna 1,000 years ago.
Which kind of makes sense, because that was what the story of Final Fantasy X was all about.
Yeah,
kinda.
but anyway, real quickly, basically, the songstress dress spear is Lyn's memories, And by taking the Songstress Stress Sphere, Yuna basically is possessed by Lynn's memory. Because physics. Final Fantasy metaphysics. All in all, it's a really it's an interesting story that I wish they had fleshed out a bit more. Maybe removed some of the fan service and removed a lot of the holy crud, we need to throw mechanics at the wall and see what sticks. Like, if they had managed to tighten this game up a bit, I think maybe it would be a little less maligned than it is. Because I don't really think you see a lot of people going, man, Final Fantasy X2 was really good.
Yeah, and that's kind of sad because I know a lot of people just go, Final Fantasy X2 was terrible. Mm-hmm. Did you play it? No, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
Well, play it. And it's better than you think it's going to be. Yeah,
just take a deep breath and try to get past the opening segment, which, again,
What are you talking about? That song is awesome.
The song's unironically awesome, but if you're not prepared for J-pop in your Final Fantasy, which, honestly, if you'd played 8, 9, and 10 before that, you should have probably seen it coming, because Eyes on Me, Melodies of Life, and you know what, I'm not even going to try to say 10's name, because I'll just butcher Japanese again, but the song that plays, during their big, kiss and make out sequence at, Macalania Woods, Suteki da ni, I think it is. Butchered Japanese. Okay.
Said he wasn't going to do it, and he did it anyway.
Yep. Just when you think you have the answers, I change all the questions.
Nice reference.
Yep. So, yeah. I rambled a bit there. Sorry about that. I hope I communicated my thoughts on the game well. And I will definitely be beating it here. And, apparently I'm closer than I thought, even though I thought I had a longer way to go.
Yeah, again, it's probably been 10 years since I've played this game. But I just remember that singing section being, the setup for the final build.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm a little bit X2'd out, though, because I did have to cram a lot of it in, because I got really busy the last couple of weeks. But, anyway, so that'll do it for our games for this episode. Real quick, we'll announce next game's episodes. First, co-op.
Next week's episodes, not next game's episode.
Next episode's games, you mean?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, thank you for making a screw up so I could feel about my own screw up. High five.
I didn't screw up.
You said next game's episode.
I said next week's episodes.
No, you said next week's episode, and then you said instead of next game's episodes.
That's what you said. I think. Who knows?
Oh, man alive.
Next week, we will
next
be playing.
Next episode.
In 2 weeks, we will be playing.
Oh, my God.
Shut up, Wes.
Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is our co-op game. Randy will be finally getting around to, I don't even remember which episode it was, and I don't care at this point, because I'm just trying to get this show on the road before I completely lose it. You will be getting around to Freedom Planet.
Oh, we missed the joke. Our next episode is going to be on Groundhog's Day. So we're playing Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, because Groundhog's Day, you do things over and over, Sands of Time, ha-ha. I will be playing Freedom Planet, because I was supposed to months ago, and I'll finally get around to it.
And I had to ruin the theme here. Originally, I was going to play Life is Strange here because I have the time rewind mechanic. Unfortunately, my computer's graphic card has died, so I can't do that this episode. So I just basically went to the fortune cookie and waited for it to spit out a game that I felt was decent enough, and that was Catherine for the PlayStation 3.
Oh boy, I mean, I've played a little bit of this. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
this insane.
Yeah, I've played a little bit. I've played a very little bit of this a while ago. The only reason I have it is because it's the PS3 debut of the Persona team. And I figured, well, I'll show my support for it, and then, hey, maybe they'll actually release a mainline Persona game on the PlayStation 3. Yeah, how's that working out? Persona 5 coming out for the PlayStation 4 this year? So yeah, the other one other announcement we want to make real quick. If you've listened this far, thank you. We are going to announce. We announced last episode that we were doing the 24-hour live stream in March for our first anniversary, and we wanted to announce what game we'll be opening with. And oddly enough, it's a game that was mentioned in passing already. We will be opening with a bout of Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U, and it's going to basically be me and Randy playing, a few of our friends playing. We may even open up the floor to the bar patrons. We'll see how it goes.
And just so everyone knows, there is a good chance that there will be a 7-year-old in attendance ready to destroy all of your faces.
Yeah. We also recorded some footage of it for another YouTube video that we'll be posting hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah. That's something to look forward to, as that marathon is now only 50 days away.
Oh my god.
I know. Time keeps on ticking, and I'm like, holy shit. It will be
Less
40.
than that.
Yeah, it will be 43 days by the time you hear this. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that is suddenly a lot closer than I want it to be.
6 weeks, sir.
Yeah. So yeah. News roundup, anything really come out? There was Sony trying to trademark Let's Play and failing miserably, which, you know.
Well, and the internet, I think, overreacting to it. Did they ever even come out and explain what they were trying to do? It was just somebody noticed it was on the thing.
And yeah,
and then freaked out.
The freak out happened, and then the the trademark office went, no, you know, because prior art, basically. You know, everybody else who had done it before, sort of thing. Anyway, yeah, that happened. Just because I've been playing a bit more of it lately. Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Season 5 started earlier this week. I've been getting back into that. That's a game I definitely want to stream when I get my graphics card fixed, because right now I can play Diablo 3, but it's basically, you know, potato quality is the terms Twitch streamers will use. You know what I mean? I can vaguely tell what's going on. Numbers are flying out of things. I may or may not be killing demons.
He may or may not be playing Diablo on the original PlayStation.
Yeah. Nice. But, so, yeah, that's definitely been fun. Anything else? Not that I can really think of.
No, not news-wise. Everything's kind of just quiet.
Yeah.
Waiting for all these games to start coming out in the next couple months and make everything crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, Mario Maker Monday will have come out by the time you hear this. We've got Bobble coming out soon, hopefully. And then the video of Chase kicking both of our butts at Smash Bros. Will be coming out at some point here in the next couple of weeks as well.
Also, if you're listening to us on the W2M network, again, welcome. And also check out all of the other podcasts that are all over that, whether you like wrestling or sports or the other game podcast that's on there. There's all sorts of stuff to listen to. And of course, if you want to listen to me once again talk about how the Seattle Seahawks lost, check out the Football to Football podcast on, again, the W2M network. Or check us out on, 411mania.com. We're still there. BacklogBusting.com.
411mania, I haven't actually posted there since, like, episode a long time ago.
Well, what the hell, Wes? Get back with it. I have a review getting edited right now for 411, so we're still there.
Yeah.
I promise.
Vaguely.
Jeremy, sorry. I didn't know Wes was doing that to you.
I'm actually kind of amazed I haven't gotten yelled at for it. But anyway, yes, I will be posting this one to 411, and hopefully we'll be getting back on that horse. Hell, I may even try to get a review from the backlog in as well. But anyway, all that being said, Facebook, Twitter, BacklogBusting.com, 411mania.com, like Randy said, Stitcher, WTM Network.
We're everywhere. Next stop, ESPN.
Oh, wait. Yeah, that is a thing that happened. ESPN's basically gone, oh, hey, esports. Sure, we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean...
But, so yeah. That will about do it for this episode of the Backlog Busting Project. A little bit shorter than we usually run here, but there was no way we were talking for 30 minutes about Bobble. We tried. And failed. But anyway, stay tuned for more. Hopefully see you next time on the Backlog Busting Project. And until that next time, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
Seattle lost.